There we go.
Okay, well, hey, welcome everyone. Thanks a lot for being here tonight. I'm Sheila Fox and the other part of this partnership with Chuck. And I put in chat, I'm with CCL and Simply Living. So, got beaten both those. We are honored tonight to have with us Laura Fay, and I think a whole bunch of you know Laura. She's a former board member for FLOW, Friends of the Lower Olentangy Watershed, and is currently. She served from 2008 to 2021. Dang, it's a long time. I admire that. So Laura currently serves as the chairwoman of the Science Committee for FLOW, 2010 to present. And in the past, she's been involved with green space inventory for the Olentangy Watershed, Trees for Schools initiative, and has managed many grants for FLOW. And with that, Laura, take it away.
Thanks everybody for joining, and if I don't mention it, please consider joining one of the FLOW committees. We have a outreach and education committee, and I think all of you on board are agree that education is key to moving the needle on some of these issues. And then we also have a science committee. Sorry about that. I'm going to start my presentation. And hopefully you can all see my screen. So this is about climate change in the lower Olentangy watershed and what FLOW has been doing since we started in 1997. The first 8 years were spent, getting organized and then completing a watershed inventory and our watershed action plan. Most of our actions that were identified were related to water quality, the physical, chemical, and biological aspects of water quality. So physical could be trees, or it could be the, stream erosion, that kind of thing. Chemical, and then the biological, the fish and the bugs. And the focus there was because we were funded from US EPA for non-point source pollution. So since that time, I think we've expanded a little bit. Some of our earlier board members didn't think air was an important issue. Like if we said local food was important because it reduced the amount of driving for better air quality, they didn't think we should go that way. So, but anyway, thanks to Citizens Climate Lobby and Simply Living for inviting me, and please save your questions. I think Sheila's gonna save them up to the end. Right. But here's a map of the lower Olentangy just in Franklin County. And I kind of assume most people might be from Franklin County. The green line here is actually the bike trail. And it's so close to the river that in some cases you might not be able to see the blue of the Olentangy River. And then our tributaries show up in blue. And, we're really in the heart of Columbus, right? You see 71, you don't see 315 there, but as well, because it is also very close to the river. But, it's a place where we have lots of residents, lots of, development. We've got OSU, we've got Patel, a lot of people work and play in this part of Central Ohio. So here's some fast facts, some fun facts about the Olentangy. Most people don't relate to square miles. We have 157, and this includes both Franklin and Delaware. This goes up to the Delaware Dam. But 100,000 acres is a lot to shepherd or steward, whatever word you like. We have 35 miles of main stem of the river, which is a lot. We need a lot of people to help us. If you have eyes and ears out there and see something, please, that doesn't look right, please, email or call FLOW and let us know, because we can't be everywhere. We have 400 miles of tributary, which is a lot. And we have a lot of little watersheds, and then we have some bigger ones, but we have 369 total sub watersheds. So, we're trying to make sure every sub watershed or every resident, right, has, trees and, just a healthy living condition. Getting resilience for climate change is really what we're all about. We don't have many acres of wetlands, only about 3%. And I think everyone's heard we've lost in Ohio about 97% of our wetlands.
Oh,
We have lakes, acreage, ponds. A lot of those are stormwater ponds, and we would like to improve the value of the ponds to our food web. So that would be, plant, instead of turf grass right up to the edge and mowing up to the edge, could we plant natives that would support our food web? Because then they'd have the water they need, and then they'd have the nectar and habitat, things like that. Canopy is only 20%, and the Trust for Public Lands says that we should shoot for 48% for healthy humans. So it's not just Flo working on this, it's a national effort, and we are a little concerned that we might have trouble getting trees in the future because of the reforestation pipeline. So, we lost a lot of nurseries in 2008 when the housing crisis happened. They shut down, quit planting trees. So, a lot of times Flo can't get the native trees we want to plant, the species, the size, things like that. And then lastly, protected lands, we only have 9%. And Trust for Public Lands, which is a great website, lots of information there, says that the 100 largest cities typically have an average of 15%. So we're trying to get protected lands, we call it green space. We have 9% here in Columbus or in our watershed, but some of that even is parks, right? Where you have parking lots, shelter houses, so it's all not green space for the river. So our biggest concern in Central Ohio is the amount of impervious surface that we have. And this graphic was done by Franklin Soil and Water. And if you look here in the center, this white area, this is all our combined sewer area. So, every time it rains, if, the rain and the sewage are running together, and if it is bigger than the sewer, it's going to overflow. So Blueprint Columbus has, been instructed by Ohio EPA to reduce the number of overflows that we have so that our river is healthier. And if you look at this area, you can see these are roads now that are blue. This is 71. Oh, no, I'm sorry. The red is 71. So a lot of this is the Olentangy right through here. And, some of it's Alum Creek, but a lot of this work, north of downtown is going to be in the Olentangy watershed. So why do we care about impervious surface? First of all, it is designed by engineers to move water away quickly. And we have this asphalt. So in the summer when it rains, it's going to shed like 100-degree hot water, directly to our rivers. So that's not normal. Our sensitive species in the Olentangy need things that are closer to groundwater temperature, like 55 degrees. So that's not helping us get a good, healthy biota. And then here in the Olentangy, we have 33.18%. And this was a while ago, so I'm sure we have even more now. And we were trying to disconnect or depave 10,000 acres. So we have a lot of way to go to get our streams to be supporting. So what does that mean? Here in the orange in Franklin County, we had 635 sub watersheds. And these are probably a little bigger than the sub watersheds we were looking at. But anyway, the streams are flowing too fast, right? They're going off asphalt, cement, whatever, directly to the river. So they're scouring down the bottom. So that nice gravel and cobble where our little macroinvertebrates live is getting blown away. And then it's scouring down to what's called hard pan clay over time. And it might look nice. And if you walk in it, it like might look like rock even, but if you reach down with your hands, you'll feel it's a greasy feel. That's clay, and the macroinvertebrates can't, bore through that. There's no habitat there for them. So that's what's called down cutting. And then sometimes we get wider, get erosion of the stream banks. So that all adds more sediment. Sometimes we end up having our good mussel beds or macroinvertebrate beds that are smothered with that sediment. So we're trying to get back up into these sustaining colors here in Franklin County. And then just to show you one aspect of the Olentangy watershed, this is the 2021 Olentangy watershed report card. As a result of, we have a group of people that volunteer to sample our streams. And if you're interested in that, please give a call to the flow office or email. But anyway, they go out and sample, not this time of year, mostly from June to October. And this is following the ODNR methodology. And this was Compaba Ellie Knowles that's on here. So thanks, Ellie. But as you can see, most of the streams are down here in the Fair and Poor area. We have some nice streams, but they're up here in Delaware County. And that was, and that's rapidly developing. So we need to be cautious. We're working hard. One thing we found out fairly recently is some of our sensitive biota in the streams are subject or are sensitive to the toxicity of honeysuckle berries, the invasive, Japanese bush honeysuckle, things like that. So as we remove that from our streams, we're trying to track and see if we're having improved water quality. So it wasn't until 2018 that we learned from Climate Central that Columbus was the most quickly growing urban heat island in the United States. That was like a major awakening. And why is that? Well, we have a lack of canopy. We have a lot of impervious surfaces. So you can see just in this graphic here, rural areas, they don't have, if they don't have much impervious, that helps. But downtown, we have the buildings, we have the impervious surface, and we have no trees. So that really causes an effect. And then there's a concern for the people and the biota, but sometimes these nighttime temperatures they found are not getting cool enough to allow people to sleep and have a restful evening. So there's, besides the physical impact of that, there's a mental impact of that as well. So Climate Central is a great source if you want to learn more. This is also from their webpage. And they say it could be as much as 15 to 20 degrees higher in a city than a tree-lined community. So here's what's bad. Well, here's what's good for rural, lower temperatures. They have increased evaporation, and evaporation is one way we cool, right? And that's because of the trees and the vegetation. And then we have higher soil moisture. But when we get to the urban area where we've got so much impervious, we have higher temperatures, lower evaporation. and lower soil moisture. So that's what Flo's been fighting. And then maybe for people that think they're out in a rural area and don't need to worry about this, this page is just to say there really is no definition of urban. And if you're near a mall with large impervious surfaces, or you're near a school with a big playground and things like that, you have a heat island effect from that. So so one thing Flo's been doing is, last year we helped the city of Columbus when they were trying to engage volunteers to drive around with sensors on their car. And this is the Olentangy here, right in the center. Worthington puts a big hole. We wish they would have had a few drive-throughs there. And then Upper Arlington, about half of this is in our watershed, and then the other half is in the Scioto. But these dark blue areas, this is where it's cool. So what is this? Big blue. This is High Banks. These blue are Don Scott Airport. There are large tracts of forest there. Antrim Lake is cooler. It's fed by groundwater. And then here we have Clintonville, which has got some of the highest canopy in Columbus. It's about 48%. And then you get to these urban heat islands, and then downtown, which is just a hot pocket. So I don't know if you can see the Olentangy meandering down here, and then the confluence with the Scioto. So like this would be the Scioto boathouse. So if you're living in these areas, you're going to have impacts. And the longer we wait, the harder it's going to be to get trees to grow. A lot of foresters are concerned that, like a species might be present here now, but what if we have a cold snap in January? Can it live through that? Or what if we plant a tree and it can't live through the drought? So this is not a great time to be experimenting with different species of trees. So what's the solutions? And this is also from Climate Central. They recommend planting trees, particularly along paved streets. So Flo is not allowed to plant in it's called the right of way, but we do advocate people to do that. So if you live in an area that doesn't have a tree in your right of way, near where you live, you can call, if you live in Columbus, you can call 311. Actually, it would be 645-3111, and give them your address and tell them you'd like a tree. And I think they even try and honor your choices. But we need a lot more trees along our impervious surfaces, right? So those right-of-way trees are going to help you get shade between where you walk on the sidewalk and where people are driving their cars or biking or skating or whatever. One option is a green roof, and we have some in Columbus. I'm not sure of all of them. One, the oldest one I know about is at Chadwick Arboretum, which is a great place to visit. And, so it intercepts stormwater, and then also provides cooling. Another one is at Riverside Hospital. And that one, I think, was done mostly for hospital residents, because they know that greenery that people can see is better for recovery. People spend at least one day less in the hospital if they are exposed to nature. Another one is a cool roof, and this one is really the easiest. If you have like a flat roof or something, it's just painting a roof white instead of black. But if you're gonna shingle, you could shingle it with a lighter color. And then cool pavements or whitewashing. So asphalt's dark, and that is absorbing heat. So concrete would be better, or I guess, painting the asphalt. I'm not sure how long that holds up though, but you can check out this reference here. And this is being recorded, and I could also share my slides. So if you want to see those, you can get those from Chuck and Sheila. Another good resource for reducing urban heat islands are trees and vegetation, and US EPA has a great document about that as well. So, and then Flo always recommends natives if possible, because those natives have evolved here for you know, thousands of years with our climate, with our soils. You know, soils aren't the same everywhere. And then with our weather. So Flo got involved in tree planting as part of what was called Branch Out Columbus in 2013. And the reason trees were a big concern then is because of the emerald ash borer, an invasive insect from the Orient that was brought here, I believe, in pallets. And then its target food is green and white ash. So some of our foresters had planted quite a few green ash over time, and we lost about 100,000 of them. So, you know, our forestry department was busy cutting trees, hazardous trees, instead of planting. And then this map is based on census blocks, which is a little strange for our way of thinking. You know, it doesn't help us with our watershed plan, doesn't help us with neighborhoods sometimes, because it's based on census. But these lighter areas here are 0 trees to a very low number. And then you get into lighter greens. This could be like a 9 or 10%. And then darker green would be 30 to 40%. So you can see, you know, many smaller areas in our watershed need help with tree planting. And unfortunately, with some of the newer developments, the homes are smaller, the yards are smaller, and so they might not have room for a large canopy tree. So we're working on that also to try and figure out how we can help with that, mostly planting what's called a medium size tree. So our canopy trees get to be 80 to 100 feet and provide a lot more shade as they get older. You know, medium sized tree from 20 to 40, you know, feet high won't provide as much shade. And then this is a great tool also I would highly recommend. This is the Tree Equity. So this takes canopy coverage data and census block data. And you can see when you click on these, the makeup of tree equity. So like it will say, it would show up as a different color here because, you know, there's lower income, there's unemployed people, you know, people that can't afford to plant their own tree potentially. And, you know, potentially those are areas that we should target. And then some, like airports, maybe we can't target, and then downtown we can't target because land is so expensive there. But this is a valuable tool, and there's lots of information in there. So we started planting trees in schools, mostly because Columbus City Schools was a great partner, and they had lost a lot of green ash trees and couldn't afford to replace them. You know, most of their money is supposed to be spent on education, and trees are luxuries, I guess. But here's an example. This was such a great partnership, a great project in Linden that we worked on. We targeted Linden because it's got a low canopy. And we wanted to work on the school, but we had to wait a year till they were working on the pavement. And I'll explain that in a bit. But we planted some trees around, the athletic fields. And there's nothing worse than being a parent watching a doubleheader baseball game in blazing sun. So, these trees are 20 feet tall, but it's and 2-inch caliper, but it's going to take them a while before they're really providing shade. But our partner at Columbus City Schools, the facility manager, wanted to depave some of this unused impervious surface. And part of that was for management of the kids, right? Like, a few teachers on the playground, and then, the kids can get all the way over here. So he wanted to depave some and plant trees. So he came up with this plan to depave quite a bit of playgrounds. And he, threw in like these trees as a concept. And then we wanted to depave this courtyard, which is one of the major entrances to the school for the kids, and plant some trees in there and make it more welcoming and provide a little shade for these classrooms. So the win-win for this was the school actually depaved this when they were repaving. They had a contractor out there. They're going to save about $120,000 on stormwater fees to the city over, I forget how many years, but because everybody pays stormwater fees, right? Residents typically pay, I believe, $35, but this is considered commercial property, and they pay by the amount of square feet they have. So they were going to save money. And then we partnered with the United States Green Building Council, which would be another great partner for all of us. They do a lot of the LEED certification, reducing, materials that have air emissions and things like that. And they came up with the demolition plan that then the city, Columbus City Schools, just had to give the contractor. So it was a win-win. And this is what the courtyard looked like before. And this is Seth Trance from the USGBC. So for us, it was great to have partners like landscape architects, engineers. But that's before. And then this is what it looked like afterwards. So benches, trees, they reduce a lot of impervious surface. I think this was supposed to be like an outdoor classroom, which hasn't actually happened yet, but a little more welcoming, a little better stormwater. And then this is what the trees look, and these are all on the south side. So a lot of times trees on the southern part of your property are going to give you more shade throughout the year. So we planted a lot of oaks, and that'll also help, support our food webs, since so many caterpillars use oaks for their life cycle. And then we planted at Windsor Stem in 2018. And there again, Columbus City Schools, they're great partners. They help unload the trees, and they pre-augured the holes for us. So we got all these trees in. And then later we came back and planted the playgrounds at Rosewind Commons. It's a Columbus Metropolitan Housing Authority. So we planted a lot of trees, and then the ODNR forester that was helping us recommended that we plant evergreens here. This is a berm, but then what you'll see in a minute is a factory over here. So these trees will help intercept the particulates and also provide aesthetic screening. And then Rosewind Commons has other playgrounds that we planted that fall. So yeah, these trees are small, but eventually they'll grow and help screen better this factory and intercept particulates. So something else that Flo's been working on is our pollinator pathway. I think everyone knows, like, the story of the monarch being reduced by about 90% due to lack of habitat, pesticides, herbicides, bad winters in Mexico, things like that. So all these sites here that with the purple star are places that we have installed a pollinator pathway, pollinator garden. They vary in size. Some are big. This one up at Delco is pretty big. And then we have one at, oh, it's not on the map. That's 4/10 of an acre or 4 acres. So, but anyway, considering how urban this is, we've been able to get quite a few gardens in, a lot of them with Columbus Recreation Parks, but some with Worthington, lots of partners. So if you're interested in that, Green Columbus is also a partner, and for Earth Day, they're giving out a 1/4 acre of 3-foot high pollinator seed. It's not all native to Ohio, but they're all native to the Midwest. And the idea there is to have a lower growing area for safety. Some of our prairie plants get pretty tall. So why is Flo crazy about native plants? This is the take-home message right here. So this is turf grass on the left, Kentucky bluegrass. It would get taller, but we mow it, but the roots are shallow. These are native plants, and if you wanted a grass that you could mow, but look at the extensiveness of these roots. This is buffalo grass. This would grow here. And then some of these get as deep as 15 feet. So there's carbon storage. About 1/3 of these roots break off a year, and then that leaves like a tube, you know, in the soil, and then water can percolate down through that. So that perfectly matches what Flo wants. We want to slow the water down on the surface. We want to infiltrate it, and then we want to get it out to the river, you know, so that we have a good summer base flow and it's cooler. So, and these plants are prettier than that little plant, right? So anyway, and then we like those extensive roots because the soils store quite a bit of carbon, and that's the soils and the roots. They're the largest terrestrial store. 3 times as much as atmosphere. So, you know, we're trying to reduce the amount of CO2 we have in our atmosphere. Maybe this is one way we could do it. So here's some data. Oh, I'm sorry. PG is picocurie, picograms of carbon. And this is globally 2 trillion tons. And then our oceans do store the most carbon. So we have the oceans, we have the soil, and we have the air. So we can control a few of those. This is a 1/10 acre prairie. It's a little bit off the screen there. This is at Cranbrook Elementary, and they're again great partners with Columbus City Schools. But this gets, everything looks yellow here, but that's just at one time of the year, right? I mean, you get different blooms coming. We have foxglove, beard tongue, and milkweeds, and all different kinds of plants growing there. So they're getting us better storage of carbon in the soil than what we had with the turf grass. And then we have a stream right behind this row of trees. Another thing we're doing to increase storage of in the soil is planting more trees. And this is a concept sketch. It didn't get implemented just like this, but planting trees on the north side of Summer Wetlands. This was a 50 to 100-foot wide turf grass area that ODNR let sort of go wild, and we planted containerized trees and ball and burlap trees. And the idea is to make this wetlands, there's 3 wetlands in this forested area, make it bigger, you know, hold more moisture, things like that. And then our big product really as a watershed group is outreach and education. And so there's webinars that Flo does. We work on signage as sort of a passive education aspect. And, you know, especially at our gardens, right? You can come out at different times of the year. These 3 species might not be blooming, but, you know, we list others.
At home you don't want to give away.
Like a lot of it, it's just, I don't know where it came from, but I don't know why it's in my apartment and not here, but it's just like clothes I haven't worn in years. And it's like high
Sorry.
school.
Yeah, bring them home. Let's give them away.
Well, they're here now because I had to wash them, so I'm gonna have to go through them, but it's gonna take, there's a lot of clothes.
Because there's stuff in the garage I'm gonna give away,
Oh, okay.
so I can bring it all.
Okay.
All right, so we also have access to a great program called Canva, and it does make some very nice graphics that we used for education. This one was actually done by the Olentangy River Vision Plan. A group called Implement created this to help us show people about how reducing lawn increases diversity and why. And it
It's
was,
starting to fizzle out. Like it started really good, but now I'm losing my interest.
hey, Laura, could you mute?
Oh, yeah.
Thanks. Sorry, you're losing interest. Anyway, and then they made a real cute one about how people could be, instead of mowing lawns and being hot and sweaty, you could be relaxing and enjoying your yard. Oh. So Flo has 2 tree nurseries and we do tree giveaways also. So if you're interested in being a tree ambassador and live in the Olentangy watershed, we would deliver like 10 to 15 trees, native trees or shrubs to you. And then, you know, you would put them on your lawn with this free native tree sign that's got a QR code, and your neighbors could see what trees were there and what option they might like. So although we are encouraging people to plant trees on their property, especially if they don't have any shade, the real value will be trees that are providing shade, like for your driveway or your house, or, you know, your impervious surfaces. And then we do have foragers in our neighborhood, and we in our watershed, and we don't have a lot of native edibles, but we do have pawpaw and, you know, persimmons at times. So those are valuable as well. So I'd like to point out that one of our great educational resources is our webpage. And here's the link. One of our previous educators was actually a teacher and did stuff about for homeschool children. We have landowner toolkit, you know, instructions, how to plan for pollinators, things like that. And then our other big option is our GIS data on our green space page, that you can see where you live, what subwatershed you live in, and it'll also tell you in your subwatershed how much tree canopy you have in your subwatershed. So lots of stuff to learn. So how can you help to lighten your global footprint? If you travel, one way, because air transportation is a big CO2 emitter, is to use a carbon calculator and make a donation to a nonprofit or plant a tree yourself, or, you know, that kind of thing. Simple thing, reduce your car trips, plan your errands, bike if you can. This is an expensive one, buy an electric car, but the city of Columbus is hoping to go totally electric, I think, by 2050. So there'll be a lot of chargers around and things like that. They are trying to make the city more bikeable. And with the new Link Us program from CODA, there's going to be a major line along the Olentangy River Road to take you from downtown out to Dublin. And then the other major line they're working on first is east-west along Broad Street. So I guess the good thing about that is, you know, less car on the road. Transportation is a big one for us. And then less concrete downtown if they don't need them for cars, they'll probably build on them. So I don't know that we'll get parks back. And then installing solar panels. All right. And then everyone knows about single-use plastics. They come from natural gas. And the bad news is the fracking has resulted in quite a bit of deforestation in the US. So 19.2 million acres. For climate change, I think the trees will help give us resilience. And we're especially trying to create corridors for animals that will allow them to migrate in heat and floods and things like that. And then removing the trees also removed a lot of the carbon sink. So going in the wrong direction. So a simple one, something you can do is to replace your gas-powered leaf blower. A leaf blower puts out more than 299 times the carcinogens of a F-150 truck, and also has more CO2 emissions. So they are being banned in some states. So you could go with an electric blower, or, you know, going back to a rake or push mower. Other thing that became really popular in COVID is the sale of propane patio heaters went off the roof. And these do not have any sort of way to trap the emissions. So, or the residue. So these, you know, should be limited. Don't leave it on if you're not using it, that kind of thing. There's so many different kinds. They're all beautiful, but yeah. One thing I couldn't find out is about figuring out if the braziers that they have at some apartments just outside that are like eternal flames, if those are also propane. We should try and discontinue those. I don't think anyone's really getting the benefit out of that. You know, if you're sitting here around your propane patio heater with friends and family and being able to enjoy the outside, that's one thing, but yeah. Have to do more research on that. So yeah, like I said, just limit your outdoor appliance use. The other thing is inflatable decorations. I thought maybe that was going to be a bad thing emission wise, but supposedly inflatables are not as bad as the old-fashioned string lights. So and you'll be able to read this here, but the worst is the traditional string lights would cost you $38 a month versus your inflatable, if it was on for 5 hours or 16 hours a day, would only be like $30 for the whole season. So yeah, LED lights for Christmas. So I just want to share this. I'm sorry I'm going on so long, but these are new maps from the Biden administration called Climate and Economic Justice Screening Tools. And every place you see here that's gray is going to be eligible for Inflation Reduction Act funding. So you can go online to the screening tool Geo platform and see this information. But this one here, say at Wineland Park, you know, it says it's lack of green space and 70 percentile for low income. The other one, you know, lack of green space here. Oh, sorry, I didn't go forward. This is one that's kind of confusing to me. Lack of indoor plumbing, 95th percentile. Share of homes without indoor kitchens or plumbing. So that's definitely outside of Flo's wheelhouse, but they would be eligible in this area for that. Low income. But anyway, they have all these different categories that you can expand. This one is for transportation. This is right along 71. So traffic, proximity, and volume. They would be eligible. Energy costs, 94th percentile. And then health, 98th percentile for asthma. Terrible. So we can do something about that with trees. That would help lower energy as well. And then this one's definitely scary, proximity to waste facilities. So we'll be looking into that. So that's it for me. I'm sorry I took so long. You guys are muted, Sheila.
Where's Ellie? What is Ellie doing?
Well, Chuck and Linda, you want me to try and unmute you? Oh. Does anybody have any questions?
Okay, all right,
We
can you
finally
hear
got
us
it.
now, Laura?
Yes.
Okay, I'm sorry. But see, two people are supposed to be better than one, and actually, no. Anyway, I thank you so much. I learned so much, and especially those last maps. I'd love to know a lot more about that, but I want to let other people come in. So that was just great. If you can raise your hands, I'll call on you that way, and then if not, put your questions in the chat. And I'll try to catch it over there. So anybody, can you put your hands up if you have a question? Or maybe unmute and jump in.
Yes, you can unmute
And jump in,
jump
okay.
in with the question.
Yeah, I don't see anything in the chat.
Yeah, I don't see can you hear me?
Yes, Joan.
I don't see a hand thing on my Zoom for some reason.
Okay,
I raised
yeah.
my hand.
Go ahead, Joan. Thank you.
Yeah, I see these apartments, these newer apartments on Henderson Road, and then the one up near the Bethel Center, you know, at Bethel and Olentangy. And those fires just go all the time. And I'm like, that has got to be a waste of something. I mean, I don't know if they're burning, what they're burning exactly, but it's just so ridiculous. Even in the rain, you know, they're just always on. I don't think they ever turn those off. So I was glad she mentioned those, because that seems like a real waste of energy. And one other really silly question I have, Laura might be able to answer, is, you know, where I walk in the woods over here by the Olentangy a lot, near the our place here in South Clintonville, and I know we get lots of pawpaw trees. We also have lots of buckeyes, and I know people can't eat buckeyes, that they're poisonous, but I wonder if animals do, deer or squirrels or anybody.
I'm not sure how many animals eat buckeyes, but they do. And sadly, with climate change, the U.S. Forest Service says they're not going to be, our Ohio buckeye is going to be moving north to Michigan. It needs a little cooler weather.
Oh, really? Okay. I didn't know that.
So buckeyes are slow growing too, but we are trying to plant some. And we have started growing some trees from seeds, so.
Okay.
Get them in the ground.
Go ahead. Right there.
That's Joe.
Hmm?
That's Joe.
No, here.
Yeah, that's Joe.
Oh,
Did I put everyone to sleep? Oh, dang.
Well, if nobody else has questions, those last,
I do.
oh, go ahead.
Laura, thank you so much. Stuart here. I really appreciated it. I'm new to, we just bought in Clintonville about 13 months ago. One thing that caught my attention, you mentioned that 2007 housing crisis, a lot of I think it was a lot of the companies that were growing native trees went out of business. And I'm curious if you see a solution to that. Like, are new companies, do you have any insight if new ones have been created and like the trees just aren't big enough to be sold or planted yet? Or is that an ongoing problem that we foresee?
I think it's going to be ongoing, this reforestation pipeline problem. And I'm trying to share the news so that, people will expand their growing. You can get a lot of cultivars and a lot of, Japanese lilac and stuff, but, we're trying to get people to plant the natives that we think we need for our food web and that can do well. So if you're interested, one of our partners, Riverside Native Tree, is sort of expanding. They're growing a lot of natives and they grow them to containerized size. So they grow them only to like a 3-gallon container. But they say once you get those in the ground, maybe there's less stress in that. And then, after a year or so, they'll really start popping and growing. The city of Columbus has a nursery. We've been encouraging them to sort of grow more because, in the past, they only planted 2,000 right-of-way trees a year. So that's not enough for a city of our size. Columbus is 25 square miles, I think. There's a lot more roadways, right? That we have right away. And then another thing is we have 2 tree nurseries. Green Columbus has 2 tree nurseries. So, we're trying to encourage anybody that wants to grow trees. Are you a tree lover?
I'm not. It just caught my attention.
Okay.
So, but I really appreciate your presentation today. Thank you so much.
Oh, sure.
Somebody else want to jump in?
just unmute and speak up.
Okay,
I'm sure I said something that doesn't make sense, so you can call me on it.
Laura, I just got kind of lost there at the very end. You were showing those last few maps and talking about that the money that's coming from the IRA. Is there, I lost that connection. Or where to get those maps?
So the maps are available at, I think if you just Google climate and economic justice screening you'll get it, because they just came out in 2022. And then the IRA funding is not supposed to come out till 2023.
Right.
So, Flo's advocating for the city of Columbus to apply and, maybe what kind of projects, or Flo could be a sub-applicant, or, you guys could be a sub-applicant. So we're trying to get these partnerships together because there's so many different kind of missions. So solar power might be a good mission, that kind of thing.
Well, Citizens Climate Lobby, it has always been focused on a fee on carbon and dividend, but they have expanded into 3 other areas, and the trees, healthy trees, are one. So we definitely should be looking at partnerships. Yeah.
Okay, I think the money is supposed to be announced in March of 2023, and they were telling people to get ready. Get your collaboration, get your partnerships.
Okay.
So they said that before December, and I think then everyone brain went, on vacation, and we haven't got it all back together yet.
Well, agreed. Nancy, did you want to say something? No.
I think Petra had her hand up.
Yeah, more a comment because I don't know that there's an answer. Of course, all the tree planting is little trees, and it takes decades for them to really become big shade trees. What Columbus also needs is ordinances to not cut trees and limit removal of canopy, which of course still happens, unfortunately.
Flo's been advocating for that, and you could all attend the Columbus Shade Tree Commission because they're working on a technical manual. One of the things that happens is healthy trees get cut because the tree roots are pushing up sidewalks. So to me, that seems like a travesty. I mean, I know it's for ADA accessible, but once the tree's gone, then it's not really accessible by anyone because it's going to be so hot in the summertime. So there's other options where you can move the sidewalk around the tree, that kind of thing. So a win-win, I think. But the Sixth Circuit Court just made a decision recently that said you can't prohibit people from cutting trees on their property. It's a environmental taking, I believe. So we need to work on that as well. The City of Columbus wants to have a public property ordinance that hopefully would fix that sidewalk issue, and then mitigation required if any trees are cut. And in the past, it's been not inch for inch. So I think a inch for inch replacement, right? If they cut a 40-inch tree, then they should replace it with 22-inch caliper trees. So we get the same diameter back. But the private property, I think, is going to be longer coming. The public property ordinance is supposed to be out this fall. And so the Shade Tree Commission are public meetings. You can ask to be invited. They're the first Wednesday of the odd number months from 12 to 1. So if you have any comments about any trees in your area or something you'd like to make. If you see that blue X of death, that means they're thinking about cutting your tree.
Uh,
I don't know if anybody is familiar with the group BREAD, which
Yeah.
is a social justice group, and they have, I guess, a team that's working for environmental justice. And they've put some pressure on the city to speed up their forestry plan. And they're also advocating for the possibility of those ordinances to prevent people from cutting trees on their own property. So I don't know how that court ruling is going to affect that. I'd like to know more about that. But they're looking at the tree canopy from the standpoint of heat islands, asthma rates, which is really, really high in Columbus, that kind of thing. But they're definitely pushing for that private property ordinance that other places like Oregon, they're very strong in Oregon.
That's good to know.
So there is a model for that kind of legislation or that kind of ordinance in other
Some
states.
communities in Ohio already have it, but
they?
I don't, yeah.
So Brett,
So that ruling's not a statewide ruling, it's a regional.
This is a district, a circuit district. And
District.
so I believe we are in the 6th district area. So that's why any attorneys working on it would like eventually find that and come careful.
Joanne, did you want to jump in? I think your hand's up.
Yes, I just wanted to ask a question. If a homeowner lives in an area that already has like a 48% canopy, but they want to do something more in their yard, would it be better to plant a tree or plant a pollinator garden? If you
Um,
had to choose between the two.
yeah. I think it might vary, like if you wanted to provide a oak that, you know, I don't know if you've heard Doug Talmy speak, but he's very compelling
Yeah.
about the value of oaks. But
Keystone.
I'm sorry, what?
Keystone, I think is one
Oh,
word
yeah,
for
yeah.
type of tree.
But another option is a shrub, getting an understory going. Right? You're creating different niche space there, or gosh, I don't know. You're giving me choices. I think I'd have to see your area to give you the
Okay,
best.
I was just, I have this space and I was thinking, it's the only place that has sun, but I mean, a tree would be a lot easier. So, but I wanted to do what was best for that space that I have. And then I was wondering about driveway. So I would like to replace my driveway. It's asphalt. Would
Okay.
I be better off doing permeable if I could, or concrete because it's white?
I would say permeable would be very good because you're going to get some storage under there for the rainwater, and then I think you get to choose the color too. You know,
Okay.
that they would be lighter, so you get like a double win on that one.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody else? Well, I appreciate everybody's time, but Laura, wow, I just really, that was a lot of great information. I certainly appreciate it. Thank you.
Oh, well, thanks for asking me. And then just a reminder, if anybody wants to help, Flo has lots of projects, lots of educational programs we're trying to get accomplished. And then with Earth Day coming up, we're also, going to be planting at our nurseries and doing some pollinator gardens. So we love anybody that wants to help.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, well, thanks, everyone, and I'm gonna figure out how to stop recording it. And
Yeah.
I'll do that when I get a chance. So anyway, we'll give everybody a round of applause and Laura for
Yes.
the great presentation.
Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you very much.
Right, appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks for giving me your evening.
It was well worth it.
Good night. Wait,
All right.
good night.
I can't, I have to stop the recording. I guess that will do it, but
Yeah, I think it would.
all right.
And me, for all.